Hello there. Londoners terrified by drug dealers and vandals told by police to play classical music to fend off thugs. This from 4 days ago. The UK right now has a lot of criticism of the government, saying essentially that they're too busy with DEI to attend to any of the real problems people have, especially if these problems are caused by unlimited mass migration of foreigners from specific backgrounds. Well, I have no idea if that particular cause is behind this problem of drug dealers and thugs, etc., in posh neighborhoods in the UK, in London. But the police definitely are too busy with other things if they're telling people to play classical music to keep safe. Terrified residents harassed by drug addicts and criminals in a posh North London neighborhood told the police to play classical music. Locals reported smashed car windows in the middle-class northwest London neighborhood of St John's Wood, sparking a flood of complaints from aggravated neighbors in recent months. Drug addicts have also been spotted shooting up crack cocaine on the doorstep of a family's £3 million home. That's quite a nice house, I'm sure. Another resident complained that a drug dealer threatened to shoot and chop him up. Interesting, after he confronted them in public. When he later reported an alleged drug deal to police, sending pictures as evidence, he was simply told to play classical music to keep safe, according to an email seen by The Sun. So we actually have the evidence that this is a true story. As clown-worldish, as obnoxiously impossible as it might sound. He was urged not to play those tunes too loud, as that can trigger other complaints, and was advised to call 999 if he spots the suspects again. The ex-Sussex Department Chief Kevin Moore slammed the advice as completely bonkers, adding that said he has never heard anything so ridiculous. The Met Police said in a statement, while clearly well-intentioned, the advice in the email sent to the resident in this case doesn't reflect Met policy. No, but not coming to the rescue and actually doing anything about the criminals seems to be your policy. Playing classical music to deter antisocial behavior has previously been deployed as a tactic by railway and underground stations. In April, rail company Northern said it would continue to play out tracks inspired by the likes of Handel and Mozart at up to 35 stations to combat bad behavior. The firm claimed this led to fewer reports of big groups loitering at its stations in the northwest and northeast of England. A Northern spokesperson told the BBC, "Customers have told us they feel safer, and we have seen a reduction in the number of reports of people loitering at a station without any intention of traveling." The London Underground also previously trialled using classical music in station ticket halls, waiting areas, and walkways to discourage antisocial behavior in stations. It first launched the scheme in 2007 and reported a 33% drop in robberies, 25% drop in assault on staff, and a 37% decrease in vandalism. Research also revealed that around 85% of people surveyed were in favor of the classical music scheme, recommending that it should be rolled to other stations on the network. Seems as though most people like classical music. I can't imagine listening to Fur Elise and going, "Oh no, I gotta get out of here," Going, "Oh, Four Seasons, how awful." It's just, "In the Halls of the Mountain King" is ruining my day. Who says that? Absolutely, I don't understand. I cannot comprehend. This is alien completely, but apparently it works. So, this is an interesting article from policeone.com. 5 things to know about fighting crime with classical music. Do the sounds of Bach and Vivaldi really have the power to combat loitering and other petty offenses? A Burger King, located in downtown San Francisco on a corner notorious for homeless, loitering, and panhandling, recently made headlines for its unusual deterrence strategy, recently as in 2018 when it was released, obviously, this article, blasting classical music onto the city streets. Do the sounds of Bach and Vivaldi really have the power to combat loitering? We already read that. So, cities are using classical music in public spaces to deter crime. Although San Francisco fast food franchises' use of classical music has been the focus of recent media attention, this strategy has been implemented in several cities across the globe. Goes back, the tactic, to 1985, when a 7-Eleven in Canada came up with the idea after brainstorming with a group of psychologists about novel approaches to combat loitering and potential serious crimes that could follow. One of the ideas from the brainstorming session was to play easy listening or classical music in the parking lot. The thinking was this kind of music is not popular with teens and may discourage them from hanging out at a store. Since then, the tactic has been used in American cities like Dallas, Seattle, and Portland, and in countries like Australia and the UK. The melodious example of defensive urban design, which is more commonly seen in the form of sloping benches or anti-loitering spikes on windowsills of buildings, has been used to battle everything from drunken brawls to panhandling. Now, this thing is actually going to work, because at least most of the time. The idea to implement the strategy in San Francisco was inspired by the success seen in London when officials started playing classical music at a crime-ridden Elm Park tube station in 2003. In perhaps one of the more well-known case studies, the experiment resulted in robberies cut by 33%, assault on staff by 25%, and vandalism by 37% within 18 months. So, across a year and a half, this experiment led to a significant reduction in crime, and all you have to do is just play classical music. Somehow, they say music soothes the wild beasts, but apparently they have a better taste in music than your average criminal. Somehow. Perhaps they're just more civilized. In another success story, the Tacoma Mall Transit Center in Washington reportedly saw a significant decline in vandalism when they started playing classical music. Of course, not all cities have seen positive results. Police in West Palm Beach, Florida, did away with the program after loiterers started destroying the speakers. So it did affect them, it's just that they were too violent and criminal, and there was not enough oversight from the police to stop them from literally destroying the system delivering the music, in order for it to stop affecting them so they can resume their life of crime, apparently. Now, why does it work? Research has suggested the positive impact various music genres can have on your mood, from releasing stress to improving sleep quality. Mental health professionals have even utilized music's powers on the brain in therapy. So, the reason certain types of music work as a crime deterrent, neurologists say, it may lie in people's neurobiological responses to things they don't enjoy or find unfamiliar. They have a scientific explanation I'm not going to get into, but essentially when people hear music they like, it creates dopamine and puts you in a better mood. I'm sorry if the noise from outside is interrupting. Anyway, so essentially it creates dopamine, which is connected to your brain's pleasure centers. It improves your mood. Meanwhile, if you don't like a certain type of music, for example, youth loiterers may think that classical music is uncool, then it would create a response in your brain by suppressing dopamine production, souring your mood, and making you avoid the music. So it may not be necessarily connected to the music being classical music, it's just that it's music that they don't like, but that most other people would find perfectly tolerable at least. Now, it may just be a matter of volume. When the Modesto Bee asked residents why they thought classical music played at a local 7-Eleven was effective in repelling people, one man who identified himself as one of the loiterers said, "Once the music started, the riffraff left. It's hard to hang out and gossip and joke around." I wonder about that, because they seem perfectly happy with very, very loud music in parties. And they have no problem hanging out there and talking, etc. I think it is just that they don't like the music, whether it is specifically classical music creating some sort of biological response in the brain, or just any music that they wouldn't like. The strategy garnered criticism. Some see the use of classical music to deter crime as problematic. In San Francisco, the executive director of the Coalition on Homelessness told KRON that the tactic was noise pollution and not a real solution to the problem. Other critics say it simply moves the behavior to a different area. I'd be pretty surprised if it's a panacea, you're just moving the problem elsewhere. That may be true, although I will say this. If you are a homeowner or a business owner and you have a problem with loiterers and crime, you can't solve the root of the problem. You're not in charge of law enforcement, you're not in charge of social services, you're not in charge of schools, you're not in charge of the economy, which can have an impact. Let's say if people are poor and there's more stress at home. Maybe the parents have to work long hours. They're not there to educate their children and guide them growing up. You as a business owner or a house owner can't influence any of that. What you can do, however, is try and move them away from you so that you are protecting yourself, your business, your customers, your family and friends. And if it works doing that, then obviously people are incentivized to do so. If it's not illegal, they will. I don't see any place for anyone to criticize this. It's not selfish to try and protect yourself. It's not selfish to try and protect your business. People are so delusional about private property, especially the kind that is very expensive. Think about it this way. If you worked years and years of your life to start a business, then this business is not just property. They say, oh, well, people are more important than property. It's something that you exchange literally years of your life in return for. When they destroy your business, they are stealing the sweat and tears, your youth, your time, your effort. I think it used to be that people were executed for stealing a horse in the Wild West in America, because essentially you are dependent on that horse to live, to move around in the vast distances that were unpopulated from one settlement to the next, and to be able to travel, trade, hunt, whatever it was. So it was a high crime to, take that away from someone. But in the modern world, isn't it the same if your house that you've worked 20 years to buy, or your business and so on? I think it's a very strange idea that we should protect criminals over the property that you've worked so hard to build, that you're so dependent on as well. Now, finally, there are some examples that I found through Grok. Los Angeles blaring classical music in train stations to deter homeless people. Some are calling it psychological torture. Once again, as someone saying that 4 seasons in psychological torture, something is wrong with them from my perspective. I guess it's a matter of taste, but I just can't understand how. It's unfathomable to me. This is from 2023, incidentally, so it's quite recent. Los Angeles under fire for blaring classical music. Yeah, that's the same thing. In 2003, London Underground station started playing classical music. Found that, robberies and vandalism declined by a third. Walgreens in 2023. Playing classical music outside certain Chicago stores will keep away loiterers and panhandlers. And it seems to be working. 7-Elevens, yeah. Classical music works. Figures released in 2006 showed the same numbers, 33%, 25%, and so on. It's very, very consistent across the board in many countries, and I just can't help but wonder, is it really the volume, or they just don't like it, or is there something about classical music specifically? There have been researches done that linked liking classical music to high IQ, which I find very interesting. Although some people say that it's just a sort of European preference, white people preference. But I did see videos on the subject, and in the top rated comments you could see people saying that they were black and very academically successful, scoring well on IQ tests, and that they enjoyed classical music as well, but that the people around them did not. So it's controversial perhaps, but very interesting. I wish people would do more research into it, because I think that it could potentially have many uses. Already people say that it's being used in therapy, but perhaps we could, for example, try and find friend groups based on whether we like certain types of music or not. If we could map out which type of music corresponds to which traits or preferences. It might not even necessarily be that you like the same music as the other guy, just that these types of music are indicative of shared interests or values. Who knows? There could be a lot we could learn about ourselves through this kind of research, but this is just my personal theories, that's all. I hope that you enjoyed this, that it gave you some new information, or just lifted your spirits a bit. Thanks for watching, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.